revolt against who and why? Well, I've said it on each video, so I'll say it quickly before each video. This video is by Preacher Doc, speaking from the bloody pulpit. Revolt against the revolting quagmire pigsty, the assassinations, murders, cover-ups, forced grand theft of the Hoovers. J. Edgar Hoover was a fiend. Genocide. He practiced genocide right now. Genocide against my father's family, and now me and my family and others. Really? They ruined those that are the best patriots, because that's who they're scared of. If they become the leader, they'll be the leader with a group of people like them, instead of the Hooverists. Hoover was a pedophiliac, a fiend, purposely experimented Americans to death, purposely had 2 college co-eds murdered so he could be there and film and say, look how fast I am. And these murders that were unsolvable, when at the same time I knew who it was, because Hoover set the fella up and could have reached out and grabbed him with my hand, but I couldn't do it because they kept right on going. Like the black girl that they was grabbed, car stopped, the 2 guys jump out, grab her, put her in the back seat, were punching her. I says, oh, I can run, let's get that license. And the faggot, the FBI faggot in charge, says, we don't move from our work. That goes on all the time. We do our work. No. True fact. So, what is the bloody pulpit? That comes from going out southwest. You get a preacher, he speak fire and brimstone speech. Well, this is a repetition. They knocked me off the air when I got about whistleblowers and started to mention at least 1 or 2 that are real patriots. But some of them they've murdered or died somehow. A doctor died. A doctor can't take care of himself. So the bloody pulpit then is, I don't have an actual pulpit, nor even a lectern. I don't have the room or money for a pulpit, or even a lectern. I speak from my executive chair. That's where I speak from, at my elegant desk. A real elegant desk that my sister Rita gave to me when she passed away of cancer recently. So I obligated, of course, to family, relatives, and friends to raise my voice. I have the right and the duty, the obligation to protect my family, relatives, and friends. And because of my ability and achievements, which I mentioned, in many disciplines, theology, philosophy, cosmology, history, social science, political science, that most or many say is dirty politics, political science, athletics, and I have achievements. I suggested to the great doctor, he's alive, and then he'll say, no, it wasn't me on the plane, about what to do that can save lives in heart surgery, that now I have a weak heart from overworking in conditions, so I have to pace myself. But I still can and will raise my voice and say Hoovers. And what is J. Edgar Hoover? Well, J. Edgar Hoover was a fiend, I said. Practiced genocide, assassins, cover-ups, grand theft, pedophiliac. They still have a museum to invite young boys to go in there and idolize that pedophiliac. What kind of administrative respect could anybody have for such administration and policy? That they still have his name on the building of a government building that's the people's building, really. Woo! That's Hoover's. Well, let's get to a one-word pinpoint. And that was President Nixon while president. Now he's president. He came up through the ranks doing what they do, so he could be one of them, and then raised element. Now I am president. And he was a good Christian man with a good Christian family. And he says, I'm president, so I, am the real power in this country. No. Hoover, by guns and lies and frame-ups and blackmail and trickery and money. So he formed this plumbers union. And Hoover said, he's going to get into my racket of intelligence, that I control, unlimited power. So he says, Nixon, now he's on my out list. So I said, wait a minute. He's president. You can't kick a president out. So we had a secret meeting where Nixon's hometown, where he grew up. I guess his father had a store, and now he's got a store and restaurant or next to it, all adjacent. And I said, let me say it was my idea. And they'll say, oh, and I tell you, he sent me, he's no good, good. And I'll say, well, yeah, it was my idea, because after we get Nixon off the hook, because I don't think you can kick a president out. Come on. Then I'll say, well, wait a minute. I did it as 007. I'm the original 007. Now we have to go public on the original 007. Hoover says, no. Nixon is out. So they got Nixon out. And as Nixon saw that, when Hoover died, he said, you cocksucker. Now, this videos are for 21 or older. I should have said that at the beginning, but I have said that, especially for Preacher Doc. Tell it like it is. The exact words, the exact true facts. He considered Hoover what Hoover was, a cocksucker. And he considered Hoover's, his gang, Hoover's, with their immorality, their power. He pinpointed it down to what they are in the gutter. Not that all of them, or the only one I know for sure was Hoover, were immoral, and homosexual, but he's classifying them as what they are. Down in the gutter, immorality, they're cocksuckers. So that's what they are. And that's what I'm going to call them and keep calling them. So what could I do? Galileo said for reaction is an equal and opposite reaction. So they want to do me in and have tried to kill me. So that nobody still, the population at large doesn't know what I've achieved and therefore who I really am. And the money they owe me. Crimes, horrible crimes and money they owe me. He said, I can be covered up. And then what can I do about it? And they challenge me and they laugh in my face. And then they try to box me in. And recently, I say I have to only buy a certain type of bread that agrees with me, especially when I toast it. And there's only one store that sells that. And the store, when I go in there, they had every aisle was blocked, no matter what aisle to make, no matter what I do. They have it set up that whatever I do, they're going to see, that's what he does. We are experts at analyzing somebody. That's the way he thinks, that's what he is. And even if I do or not, they'll write what they want. Yeah, and it goes on up. All starts at the top. This president is an illegal president. He's an illegal president. He is not born in the United States, so you can imagine the deals they set up where he becomes president and they had the power. You understand? 52% of the people say that they have no more faith, no more trust in the government. That's maybe of the voters. If that's just of the voters, you have about 50% don't even vote. So you have about 75% of the people of the U.S. are saying what the fact is. You can't trust the government. And so why not give a man like me a chance to be a candidate? It scares them to where they realize, hey, we try to keep him on a cliff where if he falls, we didn't kill him or cripple him up, which they tried. They gave me the Guantanamo treatment that a couple of times I thought maybe I couldn't make it. And definitely was brutal. That was only about 7-8 months ago that I survived. Do you understand? So we constantly have them on the edge of a cliff. They are beginning to realize I have them walking on the edge of a cliff. Because if somehow, some way, I become known to the public, we will replace George Bush and his gang of assassins and J. Edgar Hoover at the time, and now they continue to Hoover operations of genocide and assassinations and murders and cover-ups. How long can they keep tiptoeing on the edge of a cliff without maybe falling? And it becomes known who I and others more and more, they get more and more men and who are exposing the true facts. And then this is where they knock me off the air because she's about one of the best. And that was Colleen Rowley, Colleen Rowley. And then I got knocked off the air. She has an hour video and others of how they tried to do her in and what she survived. And so you look up what they call whistleblowers. One of them was a doctor. It was tough for them to call a doctor a liar or a quack and cover him up. He has a position, a few dollars, and an audience. He can speak. He has an audience. He died, and there are at least 100 conspiracy theories on the internet that he was murdered. You understand? Now, so I want to have these about 15 minutes. I have 4 programs. I then speak from the bloody pulpit. What is the bloody pulpit? Well, when a preacher came out west, he wasn't from a seminary or a four-year school. He began to fire and brimstone speeches. And he would say, "You're all sinners." I say that's wrong. You can't call anybody a sinner. They come to your church. They come to pray. They might be saved. Hell, actually have salvation now while on earth. You say, oh, yeah, when Christ granted a miracle, he granted it under faith. He says, because of your faith. So he was granting them salvation and curing their body at the same time. He says, now go your way, meaning go live an average life. So people live their average life then, already saved. Do you understand? And that's my universal pure Christians. We have the purest, the clearest, the purest comprehension, explanation, realization, and presentation of Christ being here on earth. You understand? And you must be married. I want to be a priest, and I was in Buenos Aires, and at that time, the one who was President Pope was a good friend of mine there. I would still think he'd be a good friend of mine. We discussed that, and he says, well, I give it real serious thought. You're a religious man. He says, but it's not me, it's up to Rome. Now he's in Rome. But they won't do what they should do, and that is a priest marries if he wants to, and that's Martin Luther. Reverend Martin Luther was a priest, and he wanted to marry a nun. And then he did marry her, started the Lutheran Reformation. I take what is best from the religions into one, Universal Pure Christians, and I'm Preacher Doc. In my Universal Pure Christians, the preacher must be married, unless he can prove to me he can be celibate. But Christ was divine. You can do what his commandments are, but you cannot be like Christ as far as, like you say, this is bread and it's actually the body of Christ. Bread is a staff of life. So he took bread and he said, this is my body. What did he mean? Representing the body of him being here on earth. Then he said, this is my blood. Now, is that his real blood? Did they say you drink that? It's like the real blood of Christ and you obtain salvation? No, you obtain salvation by your faith, your belief. The red wine is symbolic, and he would talk about your heart. You have a good heart, meaning your heart is the center of your system that keeps you alive. And then I have analyzed and project and suggest and preach that how can you have divine life, especially to my scientist friends who say, look how big and infinite the universe is. Oh, and we're here because we're here. How did we get here? And in my one-on-one showdown, secret showdown conference with Einstein, after we discussed mathematical physics and my proof and demonstration of my modernization of what was called the Lorentz-Einstein transformation equations, and he agreed with me. And he said, like when? And I said, I think by April 1955. And I said, I think by 1975, in about 20 years, they have now super luminous velocities. They don't mention it too much because they want to get a body of proof before they put it as official literature. But we can and do have particles faster that we can have that are, or we can get them to accelerate faster than the speed of light. So he agreed, and they said, we will work together. Well, what happened to Einstein? Hoover didn't like Einstein. He didn't want Einstein to back down to me. He wanted Einstein to say that he was still best because he could control Einstein, and he wanted to keep control of me and anybody else. So Einstein dropped dead the night before we were to begin working together. What a coincidence. I can give you 100 coincidences as far as what happened to somebody that tried to get Hoover out or try to expose him. Like a Millie McGee, like a MCGHEE or GEE, is a pass for white school teacher who proves in a video that Hoover was a pass for white from the same plantation of the Hoovers where she lived, and her father's brother started saying, hey, that Hoover up there, he's from here. Yeah, that Hoover up there, we shipped him up there. And his uncle was mainly black. So Hoover, she says Hoover burnt him to death. Terrified the family. She says this terror had the whole family terrified. You understand? That's the fiend Hoover. Now, so what about Hoover and Hoovers? He was a homosexual. And Nixon, who got to be president, says, now I'm president. He went up doing what they do so he could be with them. And then you get up higher. He says, now I'm president. I'm above Hoover. No, Hoover, when he went in his office, he had a foot higher platform where everybody had to look up to him. We had a secret pyramid of power in this U.S. with Hoover at the point. Me, he had me circle that point and give suggestions as anything came up in various disciplines. Do you understand? That's who I really was. Super Patriot, the original 007, which I've had videos and have proven. My ID is 0079, etc. And when joking with the girls, they would say 007. And at that time, I wanted to say and do everything perfect, you know. And I'd say, you girls say, O is a letter. And then I work with precise instruments in which when you look up, you call out in a strong voice and you say 007. It's 007. And they say, 007. And then they found out something, and they said, oh, we know. When I walk in, I can still prove it now, because when I walk in, believe it or not, I get that feeling of singing, on my Bonnie and Lori, was the main attractive girl. But it was the supervisor that used to come over and sign a check and okay. She says, oh, we know you, 007. So they call me 007. We know you, you're 007. True fact. And then it took off as an inside joke, and they moved it to England. England works with them. These are all true facts. England is notorious for this. I am had a personal friend called Emilio Segre. Brilliant mathematical physics, worked with Enrico Fermi. Came here from Italy with Enrico Fermi. And another scientist, Ernesto Piccioni, who was an applied physicist. And I've had drinks at his home discussing certain phenomena in the universe, in my opinion. And we would get to really difference of opinion of what came first, the chicken or the egg. Was it the chicken? Like they show on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel where Christ, with his power, and a man comes out of his power? Or was it through an evolution process of something in which, as it got more and more, then God imparted free will into the highest form? And that then began caveman. Or was it like Adam and Eve were there, fallen angels or something? You see, there's some deep questions, and I answered them all. I have videos answering every question that anyone will ask. And right now is, what can we do to get our government back? What can I do, especially, to obtain my rights of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, where I must, by our laws, federal laws, they throw statute of limitations at me. No, there's our federal laws, and besides murder, there's no statute of limitations with murder involved. You see? So who's walking on the edge of a cliff? Well, I have to be careful. I'm not alive because they want me to. I've barely survived at least a half a dozen attempts. And for Bobby Kennedy, why 2 guns are all the shots? Because I talked to him face to face, and I was trying to even talk to him like a father. Do it my way. They got to get me before they can get you. But they played the ethnic card. Oh, he's Italian descent. I think they got an Irish descent fella to convince him to change his itinerary, even though the last thing I told him as he was walking down those I put it even a little artistically. I said, on the way coming back, you walk up these circular steps and we celebrate here in the presidential suite because you're going to win the primary. And they smiled, but went through a commercial kitchen. What are you doing in a kitchen? You chop meat? And they chopped him down. Isn't that what happened? So why the 2 guns and all the shots? Because who feared he'd get us both that night? But they say they study you, and they can move faster, and they can throw quantity at you. And Galileo said for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So I studied Hoover until I thought I knew him better than he knew himself. Do you understand? And I said, Bobby, you do it my way. They got to get me first. You do it your way, you're on your own. Do you understand? The pressure was so great, you could have cut that hallway pressure with a knife. I have Ethel Kennedy as a witness. I made sure I talked to her, showed her, gave her my name, so she remembered me. You understand? I'm the original 007. Could have got Nixon off the hook. They'd have done it my way. No. What can I do about these Hoovers? What are they? They are what Nixon called them. He looked at Hoover and he says, Hoover is a cocksucker. So now, Hoovers that practice genocide and laugh and say, yeah, what can you do about it? That wasn't what I said. It wasn't a presidential decree, but while in office, his official pinpoint of Hoover and his gang of Hoovers are cocksuckers. So that's what I call them. Some of them, few of them. I don't, maybe not. The only one I'm sure of is Hoover as being a homosexual. May not be, actually. But as what their name is of Hoover and what Hoover's is, they're fiendish cocksuckers. So that's what I call them. That's what Nixon as president classified them. That's what they are. And they keep walking, and that cliff is getting higher and higher and more dangerous all the time, that they can get away with it and don't collapse or something gets through and there's a leak, maybe to Wikipedia or somewhere. It's surprising that Wikipedia knows who I am, that in all of this power and all of what he says against the government, and I have articles in his Wikipedia, mainly about the velocity of light and the capital C transformation equations. You see, the Lorentz-Einstein transformation equations are x prime equals x minus vt over the square root of 1 minus v squared over c squared, where c is little c, the velocity of light. I have my capital C transformation equations. Some say, oh, that's because his last name begins with C. No, but they are the Castellano transformation equations. The capital C transformation equations. Capital X prime equals capital X minus Vt over the square root of 1 minus V squared over capital C squared, where capital C is equal to or greater than the velocity of light. Who agreed? Einstein. He even took his name off of the Lorentz-Einstein transformation equations after that. True fact. I'll take a polygraph lie detector test anytime I'm at his desk. 2 times I had ready to go out the front door, and he says, no, they're canceled. God, he says, oh, well, we can't do it, or we'll take your word for it. And I said, I'll pay for it. You just publish the stipulation, and you got to publish the results. They won't do it. Editors. One man received the pride of the U.S. as being the editor to show what the truth is. You must print the true facts. And I challenged him. I said, look, talk to me at least. Don't dare talk to me. I said, you're supposed to be the pillar of editorial truth. Why won't you answer me? Because if they answer, then they have to acknowledge they know me and answer questions. You see what they do? So they say, yeah, you're alone. No, I'm not alone. But there are others more and more that are like me that are saying, hey, we've got to revolt against this revolting pigsty quagmire that Bush Sr. assassinations and Hoover, the Hoovers with their assassination, murders, cover-ups, forced grand theft. We have to revolt against that and get our government back. So they say, well, at least he isn't shouting. The main reason is because of my situation here. I can't raise my voice. I am in my mini office. So I'll say it in regular voice. You fiendish, losing, silly cocksuckers. Hoovers. When you say Hoover, that's what Hoover was, and Hoovers. Figuratively, what they're officially classified by a president who knew them while in office as you cocksuckers.